how do you how do you get the drive to give your all when you don't have a goal, or like when you don't have an any predefined output, in input, output only? How do you get that drive to give your all? Because giving your all is easy on paper, but now when you're in the real life, you are now doing it. Give it your all now. Like you need something to drive you. Like you need to something to keep you going, to make sure you give your all right now, even if you have like excuses or what, like of which what has been doing so to me has been goals, aspiration, ambition, visions, and stuff. But now that we are rooting out that, like, where do you get the drive to give your all right now in the present moment, without like really without leaving room for anything else, giving your all, doing it all.
Now, from a very young age, from growing up, we are always told you need to have a goal, you need to have an ambition, you need to have a something that you are reaching out to. But personally, I realized that's what is killing people. That's what was killing me. Having a goal to reach out to. What if I don't have a goal? What if I just give in everything that I can? But first, you see, now I had first of all to discover what is that one thing that really resonates with me, with my deepest being, that I can be able to do. And finding that now, I don't care whether I am going to have a counselor or not. I don't care whether people shows up or not. I don't care about any of that. I still continue to show up. So at some point, I had to find out that thing, and I'm sure, and I know, and I can feel it, that I'm doing the right thing, because I've never woken up one morning and said, today I don't feel like going to the office, because no. If I'm not coming to the office, it's because I have something else that I feel I should do that day. Like maybe sometimes I feel to come to the office because I just feel like I want to spend more time with my kids or my family, or maybe I have something else to attend to. But it has never been, I'm not going to the office because I've been in the office for the last 1 week and nobody has showed up. No. So when we are talking about how then are you able to detach and not really get the harm or the lack of dissatisfaction or the feeling of failure when what you wanted does not show up. So and to give that 100% response, 100% response from me now, where I sit or where I am, I would say not having any goal, not having any ambition, not having any preference on the outcome, that it must happen this way. Just being blank, I'm just showing up, and whatever happens, happens. Whatever will be, as you have said. Just like the song that sang, there's this lady who sings that, when I was a little girl, I asked my mother, what will I be? Will I be tall? Will I be beautiful? But this is what she had to say. Que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. The future is not ours to see. Kill, Selah, Selah. So something like that. So the future is not mine to see there. The results is not mine to dictate. The profit is not mine to dictate. The outcome is not mine to dictate. All that I'm dictating is that I'm giving my all. I'm giving my best. I don't have a goal, so I will never. And that's one way that I realize that I'll never ever feel like I've failed, because I didn't have a target. I'll never feel like I'm a failure because I don't have a goal. I'll never feel like I've failed in anything at all, even in family and even in kids. I'm going to do everything that I can with my kids. Make sure that I give them the right way, the right path in life. But if any of them decides to take drugs, that's not on me. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to sit down one day and blame myself. I'm not going to sit down one day and cry with him when he is in the recovery center. No, no, no. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give all in. I'm going to give my efforts, but there's no way I will suffer my efforts. If he decides to go against what I teach him, if she decides to go against what I teach her, that's on her. I'm not going to suffer with her. I cannot suffer sacrificing to give her everything and suffer her not receiving everything that I give. No, no, no. Not going to do that. So the same case applies in goals and efforts, and even in life in general. But I'm not going to suffer giving in all the efforts. I'm not going to suffer having sleepless nights to work on it. And by the end of the day, again suffer if the results don't come the way I expected. No, 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 I'm not going to suffer twice. I am choosing to suffer and go through some pain and go through um, some sacrificing when I'm giving the input. But no, whatever the outcome shows up, I'm going to celebrate that. That one I'm sure. If it works out whatever direction or to whatever results, I don't care. I'm going to celebrate that. So the attachment that you have with ambitions and goals, that I want by this time to be here. Now you need to drop that, because in the past you have a past record. Everyone is there.
Yeah.
John is there.
I'm here.
Okay, good. John is going to share. So if you can look back at your life, and this applies to all of us, that if we can look back to our lives, there's a place you thought you wanted to be at this particular moment. There's where you thought you will be. There's where you wanted to be, but you are not. So that tells you that there's also a possibility that in future, where you think you will be, that's not where you will be. And you look at everybody's life. Sometimes where we think we would be, we find ourselves that at that particular moment, we are even in a higher place than we thought we would be. And there are other times when, where we think we should be, we find that we are way down where we thought we should be. And that's how life works. So if we can learn not to get attached to the outcome, if we can learn how not to get attached to a goal, that something must come out this way, or I must achieve this within this time limit, then the disappointment is going to show up. But if you don't set your goal such that it has a time limit, have a limitless goal. After all, there's no marking scheme by the end of the day. You see? So whether you achieve it tomorrow or in the next 10 years, it doesn't really matter. Nobody really cares. It won't really have that much effect on you. Look at the guys who achieved financial stability at their 30s, and the ones who achieved at 40s, the one who achieved at 50s, the one who achieved at 20s. By the end of the day, they all get to achieve the financial stability. They all get to achieve what they wanted. Doesn't matter at what point. The fact is, by the end of the day, you're going to get it. So you have to choose now whether you're going to put a goal or a timeline for yourself and get frustrated and get disappointed. Or you can just let it be, By the end of the day, I would really appreciate it. It would really be amazing that I get to achieve this, and that. I don't care whether it is going to be tomorrow. I don't care whether it is going to be in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. I don't even care whether I'm going to die before I achieve that. Because by the end of the day, I will still die. Whether I die before or after I achieve it, it doesn't really matter. So what I'm doing is that every single day, I'm making sure that I live my life to the fullest. That today, I'm not attached to the tomorrow, such that now the attachment to the tomorrow is giving me a stressful today. Because all that I have, we could stress ourselves every day for the next 10 years, only to die the next morning when we achieve what we were looking for. Was it worth it? Was it worth the struggle? Was it worth the pain? Was it worth the sacrifice? Was it worth the stress, the depression, the regret, the failure we had in mind? It was not worth it. And so we realize that the benefit is not in the destination. The benefit is in the journey. That's the only thing we can benefit from. The only benefit we can reap from life is in the journey of achieving whatever you want to achieve. Because there's a possibility that the day we get what we really toiled and struggled and cried and suffered for, that same moment, you have it in your hand, and the next moment you fall dead. And then you have been suffering all along. It was not worth it. So you don't get attached to the results. You don't get attached to the end product. Your goal is to be happy today. Your goal is to have this day a successful day whereby you are not stressed, you are not depressed. Just today. I'm just living for today. I don't care how tomorrow turns out. I don't care whether after this, the next step. No. I don't care about the next step. All I care about is this step which I'm taking. Whether the staircase will show up for the next step or not, that's not my concern. Because I might worry today for taking the present step, for standing on the present position. I'm worried, I'm anxious, I'm stressed, I'm depressed. But right the moment when I'm about to take the step which was worrying and stressing and depressing me, things just happen. I just fall sick. And now I cannot enjoy the stress and the depression and the struggles and the suffering that I've gone through for all those years. I've seen people work all the way up, struggle, pain, sacrifice, tears and begging and having to do a lot of even inhumane things. Only by the time they get on top and they achieve what they want, they are sick. And now they have to use all the resources they had to toil and suffer for. Now they are suffering in the hospital, in pain, using the resources they suffered and toiled for all along. So the choice is a conscious choice for us to celebrate and be happy every single day, whether tomorrow is going to be there or not. I don't care. Personally, I don't care whether I'll see tomorrow or not. Because I've had enough of today. I've celebrated today to the maximum. So whether tomorrow shows up or not, I don't care. Today morning before I came to the office, and Krista can tell you that I don't like very early morning appointments. I don't do appointments before 10 unless it's a must, unless it's a must. Most of the times I have my appointments from 10 onwards. Why? Because I want to wake up in the morning, do my meditation maybe around 6, and then wait for my kids to wake up and my family to wake up maybe around 7 or 8, and spend 1 or 2 hours before I prepare to go to work. So whether today in the evening I get to see my family again or not, I don't care. I had enough time to spend with them in the morning, where I had the time. I didn't say, now, let me rush to the work and then I'll come back and spend some time with you. No, this is the moment that I have. I've woken up. So guys, let's just spend 1 hour together. You know, nijue venye umeamuka, nicheze na watoto kidogo. If my wife had something to say, I do it. But we talk about it, blah, blah, blah. And by the time I'm going to work, whether I get back home or not, that's not my concern. Because there's nothing that I left undone in my house. When I was leaving the house, everything that I ought to do in the house, which I had to do, it's already done. So I don't have to worry about going back or not, because I didn't leave anything undone. And that's the same principle that I use every day of my life. That I do everything that has to be done today. So I don't have to look forward to tomorrow. No, I never sing the song, my tomorrow is going to be greater than today. No, why can't my today be greater? Because the tomorrow that I'm singing is going to be greater than today. It's not promised. I don't know whether I'm going to see it. So why can't I make today, which I already have in my hands, the greatest day ever? And that's how, by the end of the day, accumulatively, the day before you die, you say that I have lived a good life. Why? Because yesterday I lived the best life. I was not looking forward to live today a best today. No, yesterday I lived the best day, and that's how I get to die, having lived the best days of my life. But the moment we keep postponing happiness, we keep attaching our happiness to a goal, we keep attaching our satisfaction to a goal, which is not here, the goal which is not here, a goal which is now attached to the future, a future which we have no idea whether it's going to show up or not, then we live miserable and unhappy lives. But now the moment that we are able to say that, now, this is the only moment that I got, I do everything that I can here, whether tomorrow comes up, that's okay. And that's why, at some point, the idea that the religious people kept selling to me about heaven, at some point, it was no longer a valid business for me to transact in. Why? Because I asked myself, why do I have to live here on earth miserably simply because I'm being promised there is a heaven? Why can't I live here, happily here, this moment, this praise earth, which I know I am in, which I don't have to be promised, I'm here on earth. Why can't I live this earth happily and satisfactorily? Whether I go to heaven or hell, I don't care. I enjoyed earth. You know, I had the best moments at earth. So whether I go to hell to burn, I'll burn gracefully. I'll burn happily. Why? Because when I had an opportunity in the present moment to be happy, I went all the way in. So if I go to heaven, then it's another advantage for me, because I didn't suffer on earth. On earth I created my own heaven, and so now idea is there to heaven. Wow, amazing! So on earth I created my heaven. So even if I go to hell, By the end of the day, at least I got a taste of heaven, a heaven which I created myself on earth. So it's deep. Let me not go deeper into that. But here is the point: that if we can stop getting too attached to the goal, if we can stop getting uh, too ambitious and worryful and anxious about the next step, the next moment, the next achievement, the next goal, the next event, the next this, the next that. So that's the kind of a life that we'll always live. And we'll die when we are 100 years, still looking forward to the next. We'll die when we are 200 years, still looking forward to the next. You see, it's not worth it. So the concept is when you're now able to master detachment, and especially when it comes to what to get, detachment on what I'm getting, what I'm receiving. If you can be able to get the detachment on that level, then you come to realize that other things are going to follow. Because right now, when I'm explaining some of those things, like, I don't care whether I get to live or die, I don't care whether I get to see the next moment or not. So right now, it may feel a little bit deep, it may feel a little bit unusual, it may feel a little bit new. But for me, it's not new, it's my lifestyle. That's how I get to live my life. It's not something that I'm trying to do, it's not something that I'm wishing to do. It's the life that I'm living. But in the past, I've had a series of events to get to where I am. So it's always one step at a time. So when now you get to the understanding that I need to let go the goals. I just need to not get attached to how things get to turn out. If I defer, I don't care whether I'm going to defer and go in the streets for the next 2 months looking for a job. I don't care whether I'm going to defer and I have to get whatever I'm going to. That's not my concern. My concern is what is the safest option for me? What is the safest choice for me at the present moment? And the safest choice for me is this. Good. Take it. Whatever things are going to turn up in the next moment, the chances of suffering that is very low. Very low. Why? Because the previous moment you did what was best for you. You went for the best option. You chose you. So the next moment is most likely going to unfold in a way that it's also going to choose you. So the detachment from goals, the detachment from ambitions, the demand that something must go in a specific way. Now that is the cause of suffering, that is the cause of pain, that is the cause of stress, that is the cause of depression, that is the cause of addictions, that is the cause of everything that you see. The cause of me killing my neighbor, the cause of me hating the other person. Sometimes I tell people I don't have enemies, and that's the fact. I don't even have a single enemy. I don't hate anyone because I'm not attached to anything. Well, let's not go to that. But I hope you have understood, John. If I keep talking, believe me, I can talk forever because it keeps going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. It never ends. So far, does that make any sense?
It makes a whole sense, wholesome sense, because whatever you talked about is so true, so true, and I resonate with everything. Though I only have like one question: how do you get the drive to give your all when you don't have a goal, or like when you don't have any predefined output, input, output? Only how do you get that drive to give your all? Because giving your all is easy on paper, but now when you're in the real life, you are now doing it. Give it your all now. Like you need something to drive you. Like you need something to keep you going, to make sure you give your all right now, even if you have like excuses or what, like of which what has been doing so to me has been goals, aspiration, ambition, visions, and stuff. But now that we are rooting out that, like, where do you get the drive to give your all right now in the present moment without like really without leaving room for anything else, giving your all, doing it all.
Now, at the moment when you get to discover what you really want to do with this life, which is nothing specific, you can just decide now this is what I want. You don't need a drive, you don't need motivation, You don't need anything to make you do anything. And at some point, you don't even do anything. Things just happen. So you don't need any motivation. At some point now, this is now when you get to the highest point of it. You don't need anything to motivate you to do something, because intentionally you don't do it. It just happens. It just like it's more of it gets into a point of autopilot state, like the way you can learn a skill, like a driving skill, and then you do driving for 10 years. You find yourself that one day you're driving, talking to a friend, uh, doing three things at the same time where you are still driving, and you're not doing the driving anymore. Like it's like the driving is just happening, you know. It's just happening by itself. Just like the way you eat, like the way we eat. You don't do the eating just happens. You don't do the chewing just happens. Because you don't say like, okay, now the food is in my mouth, let me start chewing. Or the food now is in the plate, let me pick the spoon and scoop it and put it in my mouth. You don't do any of such. Just like it becomes automatic. You don't need a drive, you don't need a goal, you don't need a motivation, you don't need anything of such. Because you're not doing it anymore. It's happening. And now at this point when now it is happening, you realize that you're not the person doing it now, and that's how you get to enjoy what you're doing. You can only be able to enjoy what is happening if you're not the one doing it. You ask a driver rarely enjoys the driving because he has to watch the street, he has to watch people crossing the road. The people who get to enjoy a road trip is people who are not driving. The person who is seated in the car and they are just watching the views, looking at the window, watching everything that is happening in the streets, everything that is happening in the road now. Those are the people who get to watch. Those are the people who get to enjoy the road trip. But the person who is driving, he cannot enjoy. And so therefore, even when it comes to life goals, what happens is that when now you are able to tune into that state whereby in total detachment, you're not attached to any outcome, you're not attached to any goal. You get to a point whereby you don't need motivation, you don't need encouragement, you don't need mentors, you don't need to be attached to anything or anyone for you to be able to do it, because you stop doing it and it starts happening. Now you're not the driver anymore, you sit on the passenger seat and you let the thing happen, you let it happen by itself. And now what you do, you sit on the passenger seat, on the tourist seat, and all you do is watch the scene, enjoy everything that is happening, enjoy the view. You can see the animal, follow the elephant all the way to the end. Another lion, another whatever. Now you are able to enjoy because you are not doing the driving. You are not doing the doing now. You become the observer. You become the person watching the happening. Why? Because you're in total detachment, such that now, whether the lion shows up or not, you don't care. You came to whatever that you get to see, even if it is going to be a leaf, even if it is going to be a tree, a river, what everything becomes fantastic. Because you are very keen on details, because everything else is just happening by itself and you're not doing anything. It's just happening. So when you get to that point of living detachment, living, not understanding, not knowing, not intellectualizing detachment, but living detachment. You don't need motivation, you don't need mentors, you don't need goals, you don't need ambitions, you don't need such. You just wake up and you do it. And you know, and at the end now, as I have told you, you're not the one doing it. You know, it just happens, and you are there. You're just enjoying everything. You're enjoying the flow. You're enjoying the wave. You're enjoying everything, good and bad. You fail, you enjoy. You know what you would call failure, what people would call failure. For you, failure is not failure anymore. For you, anything that shows up, whether failure as people would call it, or as society would call it, or success, you're enjoying all of it. Because in your dictionary, there's no failure. It's just the results of whatever you put in. It's just a pure experience, which is not given a negative meaning, which is not given any meaning that can work against you. So you just enjoy everything. So I don't know how to put that into a way you can understand. I just hope you can understand that as I have put it. That when you get to the total detachment, living total detachment, not attaching to anything and anyone, not just even external thing, even your body, even your mind, even your thoughts, even your ambitions, your talent, your abilities, your whatever. You are in total detachment of all that. You now sit down, you relax and enjoy. You just watch things happen. You don't need motivation. You don't need encouragement. You don't need someone to push you. You don't even need company. You now get to enjoy solitude. You are happy when you are doing it alone. You are happy when you are by yourself. You are enjoying your own company. So all these things do happen when you get to a point of total detachment and you are living that. So I don't know how to put it in better words, but that's the best that I can do for now. That when you get to that point, you don't need motivation, you don't need encouragement, you don't need mentors, you don't need goals, you don't need ambitions, you don't need something to reach towards. Because your goal is not your philosophy of life is not reaching towards something. It is just being in the present moment, enjoying to the fullest what is happening in the present moment, without caring about what is going to happen next. And when I say without caring about what is going to happen next, I'm not saying that you are making reckless decisions. And believe me, when you're in total detachment from any outcome, when you are in total resonance of the deep self, the deep with the real self within, the deep real self within, you cannot do something that is going to self-sabotage. You cannot do something that is going to self-harm. You cannot take drugs because you have learned a way of creating euphoric feeling that people get from drugs and other addictions from within. You don't need company. You don't care whether you get to have 10 friends or 0 friends. Because you're in total satisfaction of your own company. You are in total enjoyment and fulfillment of the company within. Because your company is the best company you'd ever have. So please let me not go beyond that. But I hope you get to understand what I'm saying.
More or less, the point is home, and I really love that. I think that will be now my biggest project that I'm working on, because that's where that is what has been eating me all along. Attachments to goals, attachment to expectation, attachments to people, attachment to things, attachments to outcomes, attachments to just the whole jargon of stuff. And I think if I can really work on that for, I can really work on that until I reach that level of that peak that you have described, the peak of detachment, then it would be so beneficial to me, not just like in one way, it would be it would be like a multifaceted uh, we- weapon to navigate this chaotic world and live a peaceful life. So I think it will be more of a life skill to me if I can really master detachment and work on it. And this will be my next biggest project that I'll be handling.
All right, that's great. That's great. It's okay for now to say it's going to be a project. It's okay for now to say it's going to be a project, but again, at some point, I wouldn't want you to make it a project because again, that becomes a goal. I would like you to say, I'll just try to live as best as I can without really making it a project to achieve, but living every day and by the end of the day hoping, not even hoping, but by the end of the day, if I get to the point of what Eliud is talking about, that would be amazing. But whatever point I get, that will be okay. So don't really look at it as a project, as something that you have to work hard towards, as something that you have to struggle to make happen, as something that you have to really put in resources and efforts and a lot of thinking and a lot of reasoning and a lot of studying and a lot of that. No. Because the moment you make it like that, you again that's even going deeper into the attachment. So well for now you can say a project, but with the time you may get to understand that the moment you say something is a project, then it's something to work on. And when something becomes something to work on, then it is attached to a result. It is attached to a an outcome. And now when it is attached to an outcome, then that becomes an attachment to the end product. So it's okay for now, I'm saying, but with the time, you may come now to get deep understanding and realize that you don't have to call anything a project, you don't have to call anything a goal, you don't have to call anything, actually. Let me use that word. That you don't have to call anything really for it to be worthy pursuing, for it to be worthy sacrificing for it to be worthy working towards, for it to be worthy living, So you don't need a name on anything for you to like what people I hear sometimes people in relationships say like what are we, so that now I can know how much to put in, because that's always the question when people ask now, babe, what are we now? What are we? Can we define this relationship? So the moment you define the relationship, you put a barrier. You put something. You now introduce suffering. So please let me not go to that. But the point is that you are able to do something for the sake of doing it, not because you want something from it, not because you want to benefit from it, not for no reason. I'm just doing it. Whether people appreciate it or not, I don't care. Whether people get to reason or not, I don't care. Just like personally, the way I'm not attached to anything that I've said in this session. I'm not attached. And let me not say, the word I don't care is given a negative connotation, but I'm just saying it. Whether you get to reason or not, I'll just say it anyway. If you get to reason and understand and live by that, that's good for you. And I don't really get any glory in that. I don't get any satisfaction in that. I just hope that, well, I don't like using the word hope, but I just say it. I just say it. I just introduce the concept and just bring in whatever I'm bringing in. And if from your end you get to understand and make a sense out of it and live by it, that's amazing for you. But I'm not attached to that. So whether it gets to benefit you or not, I'm not attached to that, and I will not feel bad by the end of the day, or I will not feel good by the end of the day. So I'm not doing it for any reason. I'm just doing it. And by doing it for no reason, that now gives me a reason to be happy. Doing it for no reason now, I would say that's what gives me a reason to do something. If I was to say in the terms of motivation, is that I would say that sometimes what motivates me to do something is the fact that I'm doing it for no reason. I'm just doing it. Now that is what I should do. I'm helping that person. Why? I don't want them to help me back. I don't want anything from them. I don't want them to help me in some future. No, I'm just doing it. I don't care whether I don't care. Me doing it for the reason, for just the sake of doing it. That's not what makes me do it. I would say that could be a motivation, which I really don't consider as a motivation. But at some point, this may be a little bit easier on you, and even easier to understand.
What is the point?
Thank you so much. So, and kindly allow me to to sign up. Maybe